here we are in Fusion. We've got, this should look familiar, right?
Yeah.
That's our thing we did for the joints command.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of gone out and made some other pieces. So let's say we've got this assembly here, and we're going to be reusing some things. Like maybe on this beam we want to have 2 more of this little stubby connection, but also this piece of slides, we want that same basic thing with the same nuts and the same screws and the same thing to be able to put down over here, right? We could re-import all the stuff and do it all again, right? That's going to be a lot of work though, right? And so, but if we know that we're always going to have the same thing, so basically this little piece right here is always going to be the same, right there. So let's this little piece right here, that's basically going to be that same unit all the time. We want to be able to pre-assemble that so we can just slide it onto the strut, where it's one or another one, so we can kind of do that, right? So let's turn this into a component. So we make a component and put all of these pieces into that one, then we can move that component as a group, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a new component, and I'm just not going to activate it. I'm going to call it slider assembly. I'm going to say OK. And so that made my slider assembly here. And there's nothing in it, right? So if I take all of these pieces here, so the bracket, 2 square nuts, tab, the 2 screws, and drop those in that slider assembly. Now if I just grab this, say move, right? I can move that whole thing. So this one is kind of stuck because it's already got that mate, right? But if I create a copy of this and put it somewhere, now I can turn this other stuff back on. This one can move around, right? This whole unit. So now I can go in and say, I want to do a joint. And I'm going to go midway between faces, that face, and that face, and the bottom there. And then for the second piece, I'm going to tell it to be that, right? So, I don't want that.
What happened?
So the first thing you pick is the thing that's going to move. Okay? So I've already constrained this over there, though. I've already added a joint. So if I say OK, now it's going to... Oh, I guess I didn't. I guess I didn't make a joint between these 2 pieces. So let me go back, and I'm going to pick this, and I'm going to tell that to round that. And then I'm just going to do an as-built joint between that and that. Okay. Now when I do that other joint, between mid faces, there, bottom corner, it still looks like that's going up there, right? But when I say okay, I'm gonna move it over there because that's where that thing has already been jointed. The better thing is just for the first thing you pick the thing that's gonna move. So if I go here and I do the joint, I pick here first, and then I pick over here. Then that goes. And it only moves that one subcomponent there just for the preview. So don't be worried like, oh no, I want everything to go. Don't worry. Get this set up the way you want it set up. So I want to slide again, but not that way. Not that way. That way. No, that way. That's the way I want. So maybe I don't want it to start at the end. I want it to start in here somewhere. Get it set up, hit OK, and now the other parts join the part. Okay? Does that make sense? So I got that one. Nice. But I want to have a couple of these that are exactly the same. I want this little stubby piece of the channel, as well as the slider thing already there. Yeah, so I'm going to make a new component. Same thing. I'm going to call this one stubby. And I'm going to take this first one and this piece of that channel right there. I'm going to put those two in that one. So this one can't move, right? That can move in and out, but this thing can't move. Why? Yeah, it's already fixed to the origin, right? But if I take the stubby assembly here and I copy that, and let's just do a pattern, right? On a pattern, a component, stubby, pick an axis. We want 3 of those there. Now these can each move though, right? Because when I make a pattern, it doesn't recreate the joints. But now I can just easily add as-built joints between there and there. Yes, I am. I just double checked. As-built joint between there and there. Okay. And now the sliding joint works. Those are already set up. This thing works, and there's that. And so now I have a component here that has a component there and a subcomponent, which then has those components in there. Okay? So does that kind of show you how you can have components and other components and other components? So that's subcomponent or sub-assemblies. So basically, this is a sub-assembly of these parts, right? Those can be put together ahead of time. And then we can take that as sub-assembly and stick it with this one other part, or, you know, other parts if needed. And those could be sitting there on the side. And then we can reuse that whole thing. Okay? Does that make sense? And it could also be like you're putting together one thing, and maybe you're not reusing something, but you've got a big assembly. You want to put together 5 pieces first, then put together another 5 pieces, put another 5 pieces together, and then put those 3 big sections together. So each of those 5 pieces would be a sub-assembly component with those subcomponents in it. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions? Oh, all right.